Dylan Raiola. Like, what do you think he's thinking right now?
There's a question.
Because of, I mean, you think about how this started, kind of the peak of things, probably halftime at Illinois. That's the peak for me of Dylan Raiola. Where, Brett Bielema is probably like, holy cow, this kid's unreal. We can't stop him. They made a few adjustments, and Illinois was able to slow him down enough. Mm-hmm. And really, everybody has kind of made those same adjustments. I'd say the one outlier is Purdue, where Nebraska was able to draw those pass interference penalties.
Yeah, Illinois was a critical game in this discussion because of the overthrow for a touchdown, and then the not Dylan. Now that was Dylan, but the overtime I don't put on Dylan. But remember what Illinois did in overtime. They came up the middle.
They wrote the recipe.
Yeah, I think they might have. And so what does this mean for Dylan? It means a lot. It's hard to wrap your arms around it, but in a sense, I would say this is rules saying we have this high grade quarterback, this quarterback that'll be very sought after, in a tampering sense by other people. And we have to keep him here. We have to give him reasons to be here. And you know what? Dana Holgorsen, to me, would represent a reason for him to stay here. I have no information that he would look at all. In fact, I've heard the opposite. I'm not worried about him leaving, but I mean, it's just like, you guys, I mean, if you're wooing a woman and you get her, it doesn't mean you're always going to have her, so you gotta keep coming. That was a horrifying analogy.
I was like, where are we going here? Mando.
So to bring in a guy like,
take over.
That's where
take your soap with you too.
Yeah, so smell good.
Bringing in a guy like Dana Holgorsen is effective because of the fact that he has developed multiple NFL quarterbacks. Maybe not like elite tier NFL quarterbacks, but guys that put up a ton of yards, a ton of numbers, and got drafted into the NFL. Yep. So like when you're looking at why would Dylan Raiola want to stay here? Well, look at this. You could work under this guy in an offense that is proven and has been proven at multiple stops, and he's produced multiple quarterbacks to get to the level that Dylan wants to get to. So, extreme times call for extreme measures. And I think this is one.
Has Dana, though, when you look at it, has he ever worked at a place like this? I mean, West Virginia has its own microscope. I get it.
Yes, but it does.
It's a small population. It's the only state in the Power Four with less people than Nebraska.
Yeah, Houston's nothing like that. The program at Houston.
So I think the microscope that's going to be on him here, if this is where it's going, is going to be different than anywhere he's been as a coach. But I also was told today Dana wants to be a head coach again. Even has aspirations in the NFL to look at the NFL, and he knows the first step is getting to another coordinator job. And places like Oklahoma, even in Utah, who have already fired their offensive coordinators, he would have options no matter what happens.
His resume is excellent. I mean, he was good enough calling. To simplify it, he was good enough calling plays. He parlayed it into being a head coach, a successful head coach. So yeah, he not only knows how to run an offense, he knows how to run a program. So he's valuable. He's a very valuable guy to have around. He hasn't had a perfect career. He got fired at Houston, but and Sean, I'd say West Virginia in terms of, I'm not saying their media coverage, they have 50 people at practice, but that program is a huge in that state. And they travel, the fans travel. It's big time. That was a big time job. This place ain't going to shake Dana Holgorsen that way. No,
and the way, I mean,
he's been a head coach.
Rule does other than the offensive and defensive coordinator, you don't really talk to the other assistants anyway. So, like, we may not even talk to Dana Holgorsen
unless he's called
until the spring.
Yeah. Well, if they were to make a change and name him the coordinator,
right,
I would imagine like in January he'd be available at that point.
Yeah, but they could do something where they just give him a weird title, like offensive strategy analyst or something like that, to where like he's doing everything a coordinator would do, which is without the title, and therefore you could kind of tuck him away and let him just do his thing and let somebody else get in front of the cameras.
What people are wondering right now as they listen to us, is he going to call plays?
Yeah,
we don't know that.
And what happened at TCU? Like, that was a pretty, like, did he leave there for here, or had he been gone at TCU for a few weeks? That's what we need to probably learn, because I get the impression from folks I've talked to, he had left TCU. He may not have been there the last couple of weeks. So That situation. And look, I don't know if Dana was in a real hurry just to jump back into work. Like after a long run at West Virginia and Houston, jumping in at Nebraska in January was going to be, quite a move for him at that point.
He was at TCU as an analyst, right? There's just so a lot of gray in these discussions. Analyst, consultant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's here. I don't get too mired in those sort of kind of minutia. He's here. He's helping. That's what I need to know today. Now, as we go on, we'll learn more.
I just have a hard time thinking that a guy of that stature is coming here just to observe and like chime in with helpful hints.
Right.
Like,
right. No, I agree.
And if he is, I guess great for Rule doing that. But like, it seems like he would need a little bit more incentive to make that move.
And where will he be at Southern California? Will he be stashed in the box somewhere? I can't imagine he'll be visibly on the sidelines. I would guess he'll be up.
Okay.
But right now, Satterfield's up, and I believe Garrett McGuire's up too.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys up there. If you saw the other day with them parading into the box, there's a lot of coaches in the box at Nebraska.
But what you can't take away is what we saw in offense, especially against UCLA. It took 8 plays inside the 10-yard line for Nebraska to score a touchdown.
Right. And, they've dipped up. They were 102nd nationally in rushing offense. The program, you said the key number, 18.3 points per game in Big Ten play. As Rule said himself, you're under fire. If you're averaging 18.3 points in Big Ten play, you're going to be under fire.
Mm-hmm.
Rule said it himself. That's, you don't need to go much further than that. You watch the offense, nothing comes easily. You watch teams, even UCLA, where plays did come easily. They get a 25-yard run and then a 48-yard touchdown pass where the guy's wide open. You just got to lay it in there.
Mm-hmm.
And he has it in one hand like Randy Moss and jogs into the end zone. You never see a Nebraska guy do that.
This year, you don't. And then if a guy does have a play where that should happen, they like trip or something.
Right.
That happened on Saturday. There was like a play. It's like, oh, he's going to go. Oh, he
fell
tripped.
down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing comes easily. So, I mean, listen, I'm not taking up for Satterfield. It's not all his fault.
That's what Rule was really trying to hammer on Monday. He was like, at some point, guys, just like you said, got to make plays. You don't catch the ball and turn around and fall down. You turn around and run for 15 yards. You break a tackle. You got to catch the 50-50 ball that have been taken away from you for interceptions. Like, at some point, coaching is a big part of it, but those coaches need to get more out of the players.